hello, and we're live. And welcome to another episode of the First Division podcast. And back again with a quick update. I know that it's been about a month since the last podcast that we've had. Um, we've we've been taking a break here in the studio over the Christmas period, and it's been just a little craziness, at the towards the end of last year. But I want to first want to wish everybody who's listening a very happy New Year, and hopefully that it's a good time for everybody to start over. I think everybody needs a refresh from the craziness of last year. Up and down with all the things that surrounding the COVID virus and the lockdowns, and people are stuck in their homes. People are, excuse me, people are losing jobs. People are losing incomes and their livelihoods, and just general craziness of 2020. It's continuing a little bit into the new year, but hopefully that we can we can just put that year behind us and push forward and get forward. Yeah, so I wanted to just get on here today and talk a little bit about what's going on um, with the English Premier League. The English Premier League is right now, what we're entering is what's called for those who are not very familiar with the English Premier League, it's the top. I know people are going to get crazy for those of you who are listening. It's the top soccer division in the UK, in England. Um, uh, where they are the most elite players play. The most money gets put into these clubs and the teams, and the most televised, most watched, most supported league in the world. And we're entering now what is the Christmas period, or the festive period. Normally what happens during the Christmas period in a normal season that isn't disrupted by any type of COVID cancellations or postponements is that there are 3-4 games within the Christmas period between the mid December to early January, and the schedule is very packed and tight, and the uh, the fixtures come in hot, and fast and thick, and this is the time where lots of points get dropped or lots of points get earned. It's a time where it's a little tumultuous for the clubs. You can lose lots of points, you can gain lots of points, lots of injuries. You know, Also with the January transfer window coming, a lot of teams want to make adjustments to their teams. Usually, it's hard to get people in January, and it's hard to get people adjusted to the league when it comes to the January transfer window. But it's a very exciting time to watch football. It's a very exciting time to get into it. If you're just first time watchers of the league, it's great to watch a lot of sports. Be at home, watch sports, watch football on the telly. It's really nice. Maybe to just unwind and watch a game or two. Uh, right now, uh, if we look at what Arsenal are doing in the league table this season, with Arsenal has been really, really crazy. It's weird to see that Arsenal are in a period of they're in the lower half of the table. It's not very often that you see that. For the last 16 years that I've been watching Arsenal play, they've usually been in the top four or in the top half of the table, usually fighting either for Champions League spots or for uh, being first in the league. It's very, very rare in that time that you see them drop below fourth, fifth place. Um, so they're in a real struggle right now. Arsenal look disjointed. The players look, excuse me, uninterested to playing. And I've always had a question for people who have been watching Arsenal for quite some time, or just getting started watching them. Is that it seems to me, and I know that before I get into it, I know that I like to watch what's called Arsenal Fan TV. I know they have lots of banter on the channel. They have people's opinions on the state of the team, and they get post match interviews, player ratings, podcasts, and from fans. And then it kind of they used to have, well, now because of COVID, there's no fans able to go watch matches, so they used to the host of the show, Robbie, used to go after the match with his camera and microphone and interview fans about their real time reactions to what happened during that match that they were covering, whether they won or whether they lost or whether they drew. That they always got the visceral reactions of the fans, and it makes for, it was good entertainment for fun, lots of memes, lots of jokes and banter going on the channel. And so watching that, some of the opinions of some of the fans usually are that the team lacks people who care, like players that actually care to play. Because I think if I look at it rationally, if I understand it from a fan's perspective, it's not that the fans that I'm watching, some of the fans who have opinions on the team, it's not that they care so much if the team loses, right? But it's the fashion of how they lose. They meaning that when they lose, they look like they're uninterested. Their heads are outside of the game. They're not even thinking about the match. They're thinking about what they're going to post on social media, or what car they're going to buy, or it always seems to me, the last, I would say, maybe even more, so whoever's watching can probably correct me, but for the last 6 years or so, I would say probably before that, I would say maybe between 6, 7, 8 years, which is quite a long time, almost a decade of Arsenal Football Club. It seems like, because there have been some good players that have been in the last 6 or 7 years that have been at Arsenal and have exited Arsenal. There's also been some flops and not so good players and mediocre players, for sure. But the ones for the players that were decent and ultimately had to leave the club for some whatever reason, was that it seemed like, for example, if a player was shining outside of, if they weren't playing for Arsenal at the moment, and the scouts came and they picked up the player and they said, oh yeah, this player's really good, let's sign. They went to the board of directors at Arsenal and said, hey, let's sign this player. And you watch that player you watch that player in the league that they were currently in, and they're scoring goals or playing really well, and and really shining and performing. And then once they got to Arsenal, it seemed like their performance levels dropped, and they didn't seem like the player prior to joining the club. Then you have to ask yourself why. Well, Arsenal has been really, and I don't know the really good answer for that, but Arsenal has always been injury prone the last decade or so. There's got to be questions about the medical staff of how to keep these players fit, and what kind of program that these players are going through, starting with nutrition to stretching to the physiotherapist to what kind of cardio they're doing, to all types of different things to make sure that they don't get injured out on the pitch. That's question number one. And number two, it seems like once they get it almost seems like it's done and dusted. They signed for Arsenal, they put on the shirt, they got the logo, on the crest on their shirt, and they're playing, and then they lose. It seems like that was like the pinnacle of their career, and they don't seem to want to perform. It seems like every time they step out onto the pitch, they assume, it almost is like the team assumes that they're going to win every match. And when something goes wrong, when Arsenal are playing brilliant, they play fantastic football. They play quick, they play uh, uh, direct. They play with finesse, with class. But once something goes wrong, they don't know how to fix it, and that's something that the coaching staff has to work out. That how these players deal with adversity. Uh, if they go down a goal, or if they start losing the match, or if they start getting tired, they have to. The team has to be able to get out of these tight situations, these difficult situations, and it doesn't seem like any of the players at the I, I wouldn't say any. I would say most of the players seem like once they put on that badge, once they put on that jersey that says, Arsenal Football Club, they assume that the football is going to be brilliant, and they don't, put in 100% of the effort. Unfortunately, because it's been going on for so long, the fans start to notice it. So the fans on Arsenal Fan TV are starting to get frustrated with the players, more so not because their lack of skill, but because of their lack of trying. So, so to me, when I look at those videos or listen to those videos, and I see that it almost appears that it doesn't matter if the team loses, if Arsenal loses, it's okay because teams will lose. You will drop points here and there, uh, but if you lose, for example, 1-0, and you're fighting till the last whistle, and you're fighting for every ball, you just miss chances, or chances don't fall your way, whatever the situation may be, you get injured. you know Football has lots of situations that can happen throughout the match, and then you lose. Well, then that was a good match. But if you're losing 1-0 and you're just kind of lethargically going through the motions, missing passes, not doing, not marking up if you're a defender, not marking your man, and letting him go through, or making simple mistakes, which simple mistakes always happen. But if you're constantly doing that, and then you don't even try to show fight or urge to try to get the draw, or at least try to score a goal to get it back, or get back on level terms, and then see where you can navigate the match from there, I think the fans are starting to realize that this is enough is enough. They don't like it. I don't like it. I think it's boring to watch. And then it gets into this banter of, same old Arsenal, that you're just going through the motions. And but which for me, it's kind of defeating in a way, because if it's a team that you actually like supporting and you like watching, and that the team has been capable of producing not only good teams or decent teams, uh, and really exciting football in the past, and you've been used to it, or you've gotten used to watching that type of football, then this is it gets disappointing, and it's not even worth complaining or really protesting anymore. And that's actually bad. That you're just defeated, you're deflated, you just don't care anymore what the team does or doesn't do. And and it's sad, because Arsenal is a massive club. They have lots of fans in Asia, around in Europe, in the US, just around the world. They have a big fan base. They have billion pounds budget, multi-billion pound budget. Uh, they have attracted big name signings in the past, and a little bit here in the kind of the last 3 or 4 years. There have been some decent signings, not massive signings, but decent signings for the club, and they haven't been able to produce that uh, magic football that fans are used to seeing. And I wonder if it's part of the. Now, for me, this is only my opinion due to just watching them. See, I've never had the luxury or privilege of watching them live at the stadium. I've only seen them on my mobile device, or on the telly, or through my computer. I've only watched them on a screen, and every time that I've seen them, uh, every time I've seen them in the past, it was so exciting to watch them that I always wanted to go to London and go see an Arsenal match be played live in front of my face, chanting with all the fans. And that came from watching Thierry Henry. I mean, Thierry Henry was the player who had flair, who had grit, toughness, finesse, speed, agility. He could score goals from almost any angle, anywhere on the pitch, and he's just an amazing player to watch. Especially when the and Arsenal was very exciting to watch when they played at Highbury. So that's a question that I have too. Did the change from going from Highbury to the Emirates Stadium, did it cause a sort of vacuum in the club that it turned them into more of a corporation rather than a North London club? I mean, I know that they're still from North London, but but from watching them on the telly, watching them play in Highbury, there was a certain grit about them. Like they were like a working class or upper class. I don't know. I could be completely wrong, but to me it seemed like they were either working or middle class, or and they because of the intimacy of Highbury and the fans were so close to the pitch, and the pitch was the smallest pitch in the Premier League, and the chanting, and there was just this kind of magical atmosphere, this kind of hometown, small town atmosphere in the club at Highbury, because it looked like Highbury was surrounded by flats and surrounded by, it was just in the community, and it was a small stadium, small pitch, and it just brought fans together. And there was this sort of not, I wouldn't say mob mentality, but this sort of, if you were not part of it, you were kind of an outsider. You were seen as an outsider. It was more like a social club or something to be part of that. And then once maybe somebody from England who's watching this can maybe fill me in if that's true or not true, because I've never been to that part of London, and I've never uh, seen Highbury live, so maybe I'm completely off. But only this is what I'm only seeing from watching them on the TV. So, but then when it seemed like, and I think I don't want to misquote. I think Highbury, Highbury had how many fans could fit? Yeah, see, so Highbury, capacity was 38,000 people could fit in it. That's a lot. I thought it was smaller, but 38,000 people fit in Highbury, and now in the Emirates, I think it's about 60,000. I think it's a little bit more, maybe 65,000. So they doubled the size, basically. I think. Let's see. Um, yeah, 60,000 people can fit inside Emirates. So a little over 60,000 people. So they doubled the size of the stadium, and they of course made it bigger, the pitch bigger, everything bigger. So I wonder if that took away that charm of the club, because to me Arsenal it had this sort of charm, this class, like it was something that you wanted to be a part of. They played with respect, and of course football is football, so everybody has their, you know people play dirty and things like that. But I don't know, it just had this prestige. Like it seemed like if you were playing for Arsenal, you had this prestige that came along with it, this like responsibility that you played for such a massive club, that you brought the tradition, or continued on the tradition of these long lines of legends at the club, and it was so like prestigious to be a part of it. Now, I'm not saying that it's not still prestigious to be a part of the club, but it seems like when they moved to Emirates in 2006 to 2007, that they seemed lost already. The pitch, it seemed like Arsenal's the play style for Arsenal at the time, like in 2002 to 2004, even up to 2006 before Highbury, uh, it seemed like their play style was catered to that smaller pitch. So they were fast and quick, and they were playing this really one-touch football and sprinting, and they were able to cover lots of ground really quickly. And then when they opened up the pitch in the Emirates Stadium, it seemed like that type of football that they were used to, accustomed to on a smaller pitch, was I know that back then they were playing at Old Trafford and Wembley Stadium and things like that, these bigger pitches as well. But I think at home, because Highbury was at their home, they were used to playing in that kind of tight atmosphere. And it was almost like a fortress for them. And then they opened it up to the Emirates Stadium, the big stadium, bigger pitch. That fortress kind of disappeared. One, because there's 60,000 people, so there's more people that it can attend. And it seemed like when they were playing at Highbury, most of the fans came from the neighborhood, from North London or from the London area. And those that weren't living in London came down from other parts of England. I am sure that there were tourists or fans or foreign fans that went to the stadium as well. But I think that it wasn't as corporate or wasn't as a big business as it was before. That when they open up the Emirates Stadium, I think they have like, oh, they probably had it before. Again, please let me know. I think they have the memberships for season ticket holders. They have the platinum, gold, silver, I think. They also have boxes now, box seats. They have a lot of foreign investors and a lot of foreign tourists and foreign fans coming as tourists to go see the match. Um, and I think there was a problem when I was watching Arsenal Fan TV. There was a problem like 3 or 4 years ago that most of the or a lot of seats were sold to corporations, and those people never showed up. So there was like patches of empty seats within the stadium, even though even though the number showed that the stadium was sold out, but there was empty seats. But it was sold out because people had bought those tickets, but didn't show up to the match. So I wonder if that had anything to do with how uh, that affected their play, and maybe that started their problem with all those injuries. But again, I'm not sure. But uh, it looks right now that Arsenal are in uh, disarray. They're in a world of trouble at the moment, and uh, but going into the Christmas period, it looks like going into the Christmas period, they have been showing, which is interesting about Arsenal. Arsenal is this team that on their day they can play some fantastic football, and on the other day they play really crap football. Uh, but it's interesting because they played the last two matches. So the last two matches they played. They played Chelsea. They played Chelsea away, Chelsea at home, I think it was Chelsea at home, and they played Brighton away. Now, uh, the results are when Arsenal played Chelsea, Chelsea won 3-1 at the Emirates, and they played Brighton 3 days later and won away to Brighton, and they won 1-0. So, and no offense to Brighton, right? But Brighton, as far as like a bigness of the club compared to Chelsea or Arsenal, they're not as big. So um, so you would expect, for example, Arsenal to come out with a result with that. But sometimes these not as big clubs come out and they play hard, and they get results against these bigger clubs because that's football, and it's the Premier League happen. But so on paper, it looks like they could win. But what's interesting is it looks like they were able to score 3 goals against Chelsea. Now, albeit Chelsea played very terrible, they didn't play very well that match. But still, Chelsea's a bigger club. They were able to score 3 goals against Chelsea and only 1 goal against Brighton. Now, of course, you're not going to be able to score 3 goals every match. You're not going to be able to win. Uh, beat teams 3-1, 3-0 all the time. But it's interesting that it looked like they were up for the match against Chelsea. I think that kind of helped them. And then they were able to grind out a result that you have to grind out a result against these littler clubs to, you know, survive and navigate your way up the top of the table of what is the English Premier League, right? So, but they were able to grind out a result away from home, right? So they are getting a little bit of form at the moment, and they're sitting 13th in the table. If they win tomorrow against West Brom, they're playing tomorrow away again to West Brom. If they're able to get a result, I think they'll finish, after the weekend, depending on other teams. They're going to be either 10th or 11th, I think. So they're slowly climbing up the standings, but we have to take it game by game. Fans have to take it game by game, match by match, and hopefully that these matches over the Christmas period, over the festive period, that they are able to get results and help Mikel Arteta get out of this mess, because it seems like too many players on the team right now just don't put in a decent shift, and it shows. And I think fans are getting a little bit frustrated and don't want to just keep watching people don't want to watch the same football and expect different results. That's the definition of insanity. But we'll see what happens. Going forward with Arsenal. They got to get their discipline down. The last 3 games they've received red cards, I think, except for not the last 3 games. I think 3 games in a row they got red cards, so they have to watch their discipline a little bit, because 2 red cards. I'm sorry. So the red cards don't help. Players are, so that helps with in a weird way, player rotation. Because of suspensions and things like that, and we'll see. I mean, let's look at the next 3 matches coming up. So they have Arsenal. They have an FA Cup match against Newcastle. Arsenal versus Crystal Palace. And so that's going to be interesting. The next 4 matches. So they're going to play West Brom tomorrow away, Arsenal, and then 3 home matches on the trot. So that's good. So that means that they'll at least be at home, and they'll at least maybe they can, the FA Cup, if they win or lose, I will take it. I mean, the FA Cup is prestigious, but it's right now, I think Mikel Arteta will be focusing more on getting the ship straight on the in the table. So if we look at so I think if they pick up 3 points, they could possibly pick up predictions. If I look at it on paper, they could get, there's 9 points up for grabs. If they get 6 points out of that, I think it'll be a good 6 or 7 points, meaning 2 wins and a draw. I think that would be better. But again, I wouldn't underestimate West Brom. But if West Brom are 19th in the table, 1 win, but coming after the, let's see, they could give them a match, and Arsenal versus Crystal Palace, and Arsenal versus London facing off. So it'll be interesting to watch how these next 3 or 4 matches, they will determine how the rest of the season might go, because to round it up to Valentine's Day at the end of February, They play Man United, Aston Villa, Leeds, and Wolves, and Southampton. But that's we'll have to watch. We'll have to watch after these next three games how it's gonna go. Um, yeah. So I think if something doesn't happen, I think Mikel Arteta will probably be in trouble, with his job. I think he's I think he's a little bit safe at the moment. He's safe, kind of now because of the last two results. I think the club, the players, really supported him and really backed him and played well enough to keep his job for now. Um, I think because there was questions asked if he should go. Um, he's definitely out of his honeymoon period. He needs to get results now. He's in a scrap. He needs to get the club. I think I think the board might wait. If the board, depending on the next three results, if the next three results are on the positive, if they see a positive trend in the results, I think the board will keep him on. If there's a negative trend, meaning that he's losing points. I think the match, if the board wants to wait to see if he's going to sack him, I I'm not sure. I'm not the board of the club, but I would think of the test. The test for him will be on the 30th, between Arsenal and Man United. I think that'll be the match, depending on the results. I mean, if there's one, two, three, four, if he was to pick up a maximum 12 points out of the next four league matches, then that match won't mean as much for the board. I don't think. I think his job will be safe. But if the board is looking at the results prior to that, if they're kind of not so satisfactory, maybe too many losses, not enough points gained, I think that they would be seriously considering having a meeting with him, or a meeting to see what the direction of the club uh, wants to take, because that's a lot of points dropped, and then it gets, once February, March comes in, that's the business side of the season, where points need to be made, so that whether you get, stay up or go down, or fighting for league spots. So I think that's what's happening at the club is interesting at the moment. It's frustrating for fans, especially for fans that really are passionate about the club, and just want to see their club do well. And right now, the club isn't doing well, and I think it's really boring, really sad. Um, and that's I think that starts from the culture of the club, starting from the top, because Stan Kroenke is his, what is it that what is it called? He's called No Show Stan, or Shy Stan, or whatever his nickname is, and because he doesn't show up to the matches, he doesn't really put a lot of time or effort into kind of directing the direction of the club. I think maybe that trickles down slowly. That the culture of the club says, okay, if Stan Kroenke doesn't really care, why as a player should I put in my maximum effort? If he doesn't put in his maximum effort to make sure that the club is successful. So I don't know. There's lots of questions at the moment. Uh, I don't know who can answer them or how they can be answered, but right now it looks pretty pretty bleak. But I'm really happy. I'm really happy with the last two results. It was good to watch, and good that to finally see Arsenal get 6 points out of 6 out of 6. So that's good. Um, But yeah, so that's a so I hope that those of those of you who watch the game tomorrow have a enjoy the match. And yeah, I think that will do it for today. I think I will we will see you in the next podcast. Hopefully I can get on a uh, more consistent basis. I know that I upload usually once a month. Um, I think I want to try to make regular updates somehow to make a podcast every single day. Try to get on that YouTube podcast grind, and so yeah. So thank you all for tuning in to the podcast, and we'll catch you in the next one. All right, peace.